and welcome to TSP Weekly. This is your tech startup podcast for Thursday, June 18th, 2015. Today we are once again recording at the wonderful Communitech Hub. We are in the...
I call it the Brack Mill Room because it's backwards on the glass.
Bark Mill? Yeah, I think it's supposed to be Bark Mill. All the rooms here are named after something to do with what this factory, when it was a factory, what it used to do, right? Mm-hmm. So apparently there was bark in here at some point.
Trees or dogs, I'm not sure.
I'm assuming trees, but we can think whatever we like. Let's do some introductions. My name is Darren Conley. I am a local tech entrepreneur here in Kitchener-Waterloo. Joining me as always is my wonderful co-host, fellow tech entrepreneur Stephen Campbell. How are you today, Stephen?
I'm well, thank you.
Excellent.
That's it, just plain and vanilla today.
Vanilla's great. That was my favorite ice cream growing up, is vanilla.
Really? I like the vanilla milkshake. From
ice
McDonald's.
Cream? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, not chocolate or strawberry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, of course, vanilla. I mean, it's got to be vanilla. Well, let's introduce our guests. We'll find out what kind of
ice cream
milkshake they like. I don't know. We have an odd introductions today. Joining us today, we have Tessa Sproule.
Sproule like troll.
Sproule like troll.
But I'm not at all like a troll.
You seem very untroll-like. Tessa Sproule and Katie MacGuire joining us from Vubble. Now, should I say Vubble or is it Vubble Pop? I know the website is Vubble Pop.
Vubblepop.com is the website.
Yeah.
Somebody else had Vubble. So,
okay.
As happens
right.
with these kinds of things. But yeah, it's Vubble.
Vubble is the name of the actual company. And
company's Vubble Inc. You go by Vubble.
Perfect. Yeah. So, how are you guys doing?
Great. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yes.
Yeah, our pleasure.
Chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry?
I hate milkshakes. No, I'm just kidding. Vanilla, of course. You can
really?
add things to it.
You're not just doing it for us, are you?
No, not at all.
I think I would go, I don't know, chocolate milkshake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Chocolate, you can't really go wrong with chocolate in most circumstances. Mm-hmm. But I often lean towards vanilla. I don't know why. Listen, let's hear about Vubble. Like, give us your kind of 1 minute elevator pitch, summary of what Vubble is and what it's all about.
Okay, you want me to try? Okay.
Yeah,
Vubble is changing the way that we discover content on the web.
Mm-hmm.
We're focused on video at the start right now. What we are trying to do is figure out how to have people discover content that is stuff that they like, that's inside their comfort zone, so to speak, and then also occasionally throw things at them that is slightly outside their comfort zone.
Okay.
Really, our mission is trying to reimagine how we as a society discover content and then inform ourselves about the world around us is incredibly challenged, given a lot of that is driven by computer algorithms and social media, what your friends like, all that kind of stuff. We both have young children that are going to go off into the world in the next little bit and, define their own belief systems and that kind of thing. When we were kids, that was done through a curated experience where you were exposed to stuff that you didn't even know you were interested in until you were already in it. So we're trying to figure out, is there a way to recreate that in an on-demand digital space?
Wow.
That's the noble North Star vision, and we know that nobody's going to pay for that, so we've got another piece to figure out how to actually make money along the way in doing that as well, which we'll tell you about.
And the vision is great, but what does the actual product look like? So if I wanted to come and experience Vubble right now, how would I do that?
Vubble right now is simply a feed of video that we're curating with algorithms, using algorithms and then humans.
Yep.
To sort of blending them together, because we really believe that there's a beautiful sweet spot in there where humans and computers working together can do some pretty remarkable things. Computers alone are fantastic. Like Google did create a algorithm to identify with 75% accuracy whether or not there's a cat in a video, and that is fantastic.
Yeah.
But your 1-year-old could do the same.
Yeah.
But your 1-year-old could do that too, right?
Sure.
And the challenge with it is that the 1-year-old could also tell you whether or not that video is funny, sad, depressing, exciting, inspiring. And so what we want to do is figure out how do you use the human to computer curation to create a space that allows more depth and I don't know, like just a love of the story in that experience. That it's not built yet.
Right.
So the feed we have right now is really a very rudimentary MVP, very simple feed of content.
Sure.
Down the road, what we want to create is an app experience that is very playful and different from anything that you've seen before. We've talked about everything from using bubble wrap as an interface kind of idea, where
Okay.
you don't see headlines, you don't see thumbnails, you get the stuff inside your comfort zone, and then you see things that are slightly outside, and you can go out as far outside as you want to, or stay within your comfort zone. But we're always going to be trying to get you to go slightly, because your brain really fires in an interesting way when you go slightly outside your comfort zone.
Sure.
You've experienced this when you're traveling, when you go to a new place,
Yeah.
and you've never been there before, and you notice things like garbage cans.
Right.
You know, and that's because you're slightly outside your comfort zone. You're not like in a totally foreign land where you're scared and that kind of thing, but you're visiting a new place and you see things that you wouldn't otherwise see. So that's the same thing that happens when you're exposed to ideas or content that's just slightly outside your comfort zone. Your brain makes connections that it otherwise wouldn't have even known to make. And then when it does that, it can make new connections too. And so it's actually a really fundamental form of media for democracies, is to do that. So what we're trying to do is figure out how to do that in a digital way.
Sure.
That's really cool. That must be very challenging because it's such a sort of a razor's edge, right? To have that comfort of the news that I want to see. It's Paul McCartney's birthday today. Oh, I know the Beatles. That's great. Versus something that challenges me a bit, right? So you have to have that familiarity and comfort of it's somebody I know's birthday. Or not, I don't know him.
No, of him, we all
versus
love him.
something that,
Yeah.
hey, I don't agree with that, but I want to click on it, and it's more controversial, right? So is that the human algorithm part?
Yeah. So we're
Tell
trying
me
to
a little
figure
bit
out,
more
so the
about
way that you frame something that gets you slightly outside your comfort zone, there's, like we know that BuzzFeed has done a wonderful job about figuring out how to make something clickable as a headline, right?
Sure.
Right.
How do we frame something that's going to take you slightly outside your comfort zone to make you want to engage with it? And that's the thing that we're playing with right now. We're kind of creating a laboratory to try to figure this stuff out, for lack of a better way of describing it. I don't know, Katie, if you have other thoughts around that. But it's tricky, and we're figuring this out as we go. We've been working with in Waterloo. We've been working with Primal from an algorithm perspective, figuring out like how do you do the language piece of it. Like how do people describe? Some people describe it as gun control. Some people describe it as gun rights. There's a whole lot of language in there in between that we have to understand how to frame things so that it's not going to turn somebody off completely, that it's going to bring them in to watch it, and then hopefully, even if they don't agree with that point of view, they at least acknowledge that it exists now and that it's there, and that they have a deeper understanding of what it is.
How do you balance sort of the content, because you're the human and the algorithm? So some of the sort of the political, or like how do you not sway your position on the gun control issue? Like, are you just after clicks? You just want people to read and make their own opinion, or do you have some sort of a political affiliation, or how do you?
Well, right now we're very conscious of that, because Katie and I come from not same backgrounds, but similar. Like we are kind of cut from a similar cloth, I would say. So we are very, that's part of our daily thing. It's like, okay, is that a story that is outside me? Where can we find a thing that's outside my comfort zone on this thing? And so we're constantly looking for that. As we grow, what we want to do is bring on talent that knows how to write. Essentially, you have to be able to write really well and can convey an idea in a really quick and simple way. And then I want you to come from like all far-flung places of the earth.
Like some diversity.
It really is about the diversity of the humans involved in that experience that we're going to build. That will make that a rich and beautiful tapestry of ideas.
So it's almost like crowdfunding for video, though,
I
but without the
guess.
funding.
Without
part,
the
right?
funding
it's like
piece,
crowdsourcing, maybe.
Yeah,
is a better
yeah,
word.
and like some people have said to me, isn't that like Reddit? And like people like things and not like things, and you discover things. Not really, because there's an awful lot of the population that doesn't go to Reddit, even though it is the front page of the internet.
I think the average non-techie user of the internet doesn't even know that Reddit exists.
Exactly.
My wife has heard of it. She's never done anything on it. My parents certainly have no clue. Right? They know Facebook and they know email and maybe one or two other places.
And so what we'd like
That's it.
them to have is like a Vubble down the road that they get to know that, and it's a delightful experience that makes them feel like we come from public media as our background.
Sure.
And that to me is fundamental to the core of what we're trying to do, is understand the public and then present a media that helps them to understand themselves better.
Sure. Now, I know one of my frustrations, I don't know the best way to kind of explain it without making myself sound a little bit too argumentative or something. But on Facebook, I used to get in a lot of arguments on Facebook with people who had different points of view than I did, right? Because I want to engage in topics that either I feel strongly about or I want to have my thoughts kind of attacked and defended to see if my point of view should change on this topic. A lot of other
some
people,
of those threads are fun to read.
Yeah, I love those threads when that happens.
But like, not many other people necessarily want to have those same kind of discussions all the time.
Yeah, that's why people avoid comment sections on.
Yes, exactly.
Sites,
And lately, and especially under the advice of my wife, I've had to pull back from having a lot of those discussions because she's like, don't damage any of our relationships because you have strong opinions about whatever political issue or whatever this might be. So
Larissa's awesome.
She is awesome. And so what I find now is I will have, a lot of my media intake ends up coming through my Facebook feed. I have friends who have different points of view who are posting videos or posting articles, and some of them, some of the stuff that's like very kind of Tea Party oriented in the U.S. I'm like, man, this is terrible, but I can't comment on it because I don't want to start a huge kind of argument online. So instead, I want to share, some opposing points of view. Like I want to post a video or an article that's kind of contrary to that, but there's no guarantee that they're ever gonna, or there's very little chance they're ever gonna kind of see that material necessarily if their own feed is already being curated by Facebook or tailored to their own.
And whether
things,
even
right?
if they see it, whether or not they ever click on it.
That's right.
And if they don't click on it, then they won't. Facebook's algorithm will push your video further down in the algorithm. Actually, it's self-perpetuating, right? Like less because you're not commenting anymore. You're going to see less of the contrary views on your feed now, because you haven't been engaging with them.
Sure.
And Facebook's like a party, right? Like it's like a dinner party, and everybody wants to be friendly and nobody wants to.
Yeah, but it's like a dinner party where the host is slowly pushing you into a corner with other people who are only talking about the same things that you're talking about, right?
And nobody bring up politics, and nobody bring up something that's like distasteful or anything. And people do behave very differently on Facebook than they do in their real lives, because it's the best of your moment. Your status update is not going to be, oh my god, I have the worst whatever.
It could be, but yes.
Could very often it's like, oh my god, even believe this awesome thing that I'm doing, or whatever.
And at least on Facebook, you are part of a community that you yourself have had a hand in building. It's not like if you go to the comment sessions on a section on a YouTube video or something where it's just strangers like lobbing terrible insults at one another a lot of times, right?
When you have your own friends or family, you have at least the context, right? So because in YouTube, you don't know what age, what gender, what ethnicity.
Yeah, there could be a 10-year-old who's calling you horrible names.
Right.
And whereas in real life, you wouldn't even engage in that conversation.
You'd say, listen, nephew.
And the 10-year-old probably wouldn't do it either in real life, right?
Right.
So it's the way that we present ourselves online that makes it difficult to actually to engage with things that are outside of our comfort zone again.
Yes, absolutely. So I have visited vubblepop.com right now, and right now it looks a little bit like maybe like a Pinterest page, but with videos. When I'm on that page, is it collecting data about my preferences or anything?
Not at all. It's incredibly dumb right now. It's really just us pushing and seeing what people interact with.
Okay.
And us starting to do the very initial understanding of okay, these kinds of this kind of messaging works, this one doesn't. These kinds of videos, for whatever reason, seem to take off. These ones don't. So we're really in the early learning stages still, I would say.
And we have had a very interesting thing that we had a viral video. So one thing that we've learned is the current Vubble community loves Stephen Fry.
Okay.
And that has probably something to do with like the where we started was just with our own networks. Again, we're doing this. We're totally bootstrapping. We haven't put any money into anything. We haven't, the Facebook stuff is all organic. Like it's not. We're really trying to be as just let it happen and see how it happens.
Sure.
And that was really quite fascinating because I think that happened because when I posted on my own, I posted that this one clip that happened back in January. I posted on my own Facebook feed. After I posted on Vubble, I shared it on my Facebook feed. Yeah. And I think that, I have a lot of friends from, for example, CBC, and people that are really like they appreciate like a good quip. And he just says this, really
Is it
awesome
God question.
Yeah. And he says this awesome, really, really very succinct phrasing, and that's something that resonates, and it's a good video in that because you see somebody's point of view very sharply, very quickly, and then whether or not you share that point of view, you'll probably watch it because it does make you think.
Sure.
Like even somebody who's very religious might look at it and be like, okay, I really don't agree with that because he's wrong with this, this, and this. And then they come back with their thoughts about it. But that was a really interesting moment because we realized, okay, there's, it really does, like, we replicated ourselves by accident, where it's like the one node, I was the starting node when I shared it on my Facebook wall, and then I have some friends that have a lot of influence that then reshared it, and suddenly, like, we were, we had all this traffic coming from, it was the UK, I think.
It was the UK, yeah.
Wow.
Suddenly
Well, I got to tell you, when I did research on you guys last night and this morning, I watched that video, and I watched Craig Kilborn had Stephen Fry on.
Right.
And it was I got into the internet tunnel of videos, and eventually I think I ended up on YouTube. I think I was off of Vubble completely because I got onto a Stephen Fry clickfest for some reason.
And you go down the rabbit hole.
Is that a fear for you guys, or is that a user experience that you have, that you start with Vubble and then all of a sudden I'm off onto YouTube or somewhere else because I get onto
I think we should tell you a little bit about the business side of things, because it's an abstract thing for a lot of people when we talk about it, and I'd love to hear what you guys think, and then also people listening what they think.
And I don't know if this is part of the business plan, but even people clicking off of your site can still be something where you're tracking analytic data about where they travel, right? Potentially. But anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
So think about it like this. Imagine that we're building like a virtual video library, right? And what we're doing there, we're doing all the tagging and stuff that video is very poorly tagged, because especially when you jump from one platform to another, Vimeo is vastly different than YouTube, vastly different from many other media platforms. They all have a different style of headline writing. They all have a different style of tagging, and a lot of that tagging's in the back end, and it's kept within their own locked box. You can't see it, all that stuff. So we're trying to figure out, okay, there's so much great video out there. Can we find the best video worth your time every day? We'll build a library around that, and we'll start to categorize it. Because video does have a long shelf life, though, too. A lot of video does. Like that Stephen Fry video may come up again down the road if, whatever happens, And so building a library. We want to have public access to be free to that library, because we realized early on nobody's going to pay for this getting outside your comfort zone experience. Why would anybody pay for that, right? Nobody would.
Yeah,
we know
they
that.
pay for going to the dentist.
Exactly. Yeah. But I do buy broccoli occasionally. People do. So we thought, okay,
it's good for us. Yes.
We need to make that a free service. And the other thing that is up against, what we're trying to go up against is we don't want advertising to be the revenue model, because for a couple of reasons. One, I think that advertising is actually driving quality and content down, because it is about more eyeballs. It's about trying to, the clickbait thing is just because people need more eyeballs, because they need more page views, because they need to justify outrageous investments from outside parties, right? So we didn't want to go that route, and also because it's not our video. Again, this is just embedded video, so we aren't making any of this video. It is us just shining a light on video that already exists. It's sort of like the early days of the internet, where it's like, we'll create a list of links. Right. We are essentially creating a feed of video.
It's funny that just to interject, there used to be websites that were nothing but lists of links, right? Like that
Billboard.
was
when the internet was like
part of it.
a few hundred pages. Like, you could do that.
Yeah.
And then Google figured out how to do it really effectively and fast when it got beyond a few hundred pages. So we're building this vast library of video content, allowing the audience, ultimately the North Star is allowing the audience, the public audience, a free access, free pass into that through this app experience, which we still have not built, but we are always thinking about, obsessing about.
Can I just say, you've mentioned the term North Star several times now, so just so our listeners aren't too confused, if you can just qualify what that is.
The idea of being able to create a service that gets people outside their comfort zone. This is our deep passion. The thing that is at the core of Vubble is us trying to disrupt the discovery of content. And so that's the North Star, meaning that's what we're working towards. We don't...
what you're aiming at.
Yeah, we're aiming at, yeah.
Got you. Okay. Just wanted to be sure.
Thank you.
Continue. Yeah, no problem.
So building a vast library, we have the North Star as the ultimate goal, but in building this library, we realized that we can do real-time curation of on-demand content really effectively. Using algorithms and humans together, we can create feeds of content that are related, that could be used by brands to express themselves out in the world. So the same way that we would do that for an individual, this is the kind of video that you like, and here's some stuff outside your comfort zone. We'll do that for brands. We won't take them outside their comfort zone. We'll just give them the things these are the videos of the day that are most relevant to the story that you want your consumers, audience, whomever to tell. And it gives you packets of content that you can share, because that's the other thing that a lot of organizations are struggling with right now, and this is why you see things like Red Bull doing it so effectively. It's not about them, you don't see Red Bull in their videos at all, right?
Sure.
It is about them showing and video is the best, most effective way of doing this, showing what it means to be part of the Red Bull experience, right?
Right.
And there's an awful lot of brands out there that cannot be Red Bull, don't want to be Red Bull, but there's tons of video that actually would speak to the core of what they're trying to tell, the story that they're trying to tell. So us being able to do that for brands is something that we're working towards. In the short term, though, what we've found is that in building this library, some of the best video that we're finding lines up directly with what radio stations need right now, which is, I know it sounds like a weird leap to make, but radio stations are going through incredible pain because they've got Spotify and Pandora breathing down their necks. They also have, in the very near future, radio stations they depend on the car listening experience. Drives most of
that's the only
the
time
listenership.
I listen to the radio at all. Is I'm like,
so as soon as you can dock your phone in your dashboard,
which I can also,
and you probably do right now, but an awful lot of people don't have that yet. But it's coming. Cars are rolling off that are going to be Wi-Fi enabled, and you'll be able to do whatever you do with your phone all the time in your car. Yeah, which is a huge threat to local radio in particular, because now why would I? Turn
now
the
everybody's
dial.
going to listen to our podcast. All the
No, there you go. That's beautiful. It's wonderful for you guys. I love that.
Well, it might be, you still might get for like news, weather, and like traffic information. But that's essentially like the talk radio AM stations, the ones that have kind of suffered in the background for a while, and they're going to be the only thing relevant, I think, anymore, once people stop listening to music on the radio altogether, right?
If they do, and I don't think that people will stop listening to music on the radio if music on the radio can shift the way that they deliver that. Right now it is about, okay, we've got you trapped, and so you're going to listen to us no matter what, and I'll be a DJ and I'll tell you whatever. Sure. And they aren't really trying to get you in a different way. What we need to do is get that audience of those types of stations familiar and change the habit so they're actually doing it through their phones. So what we've suggested is what we can do is provide video feeds for radio stations that they put on their own sites that then they can say, oh my gosh, did you see the video of I don't know if you saw the video of the Queen's Guard hitting the little girl in the face, a few days ago. Those viral videos that do so well because they're just top of water cooler, top of mind, those kind of things. Those ones are exactly the kinds of videos that radio stations are already sharing right now, but they're saying, go to YouTube and check out that video about the whatever, look it up. They can send people now to their site.
Well, and I'm hearing a little bit of that kind of thing now. So there is at least one radio station in town that I hear them say, occasionally during the day they'll say, have you guys seen this crazy video that's going around
go to our Facebook page.
Yeah, go to our Facebook page and check it out and post a comment and let us know what you think about it and stuff like this, right? And then they'll read some of the comments on air, maybe at the next break, right?
And that's fantastic, and that's one step towards what we want to be able to help them do.
Sure.
What they're doing that is not so effective for them is that they're sending people to Facebook.
Right.
So, and yes, it's their Facebook page, and they might get a follow out of that or a like out of that. But wouldn't it be fantastic if they could put that on their Facebook page, but it actually goes back to their own site? So essentially what we're trying to do is give people reason to go to their sites, because essentially what radio stations need to do is have a big fat button at the top of their homepage saying listen live now, Right. But they have to get the audience to actually get into that habit first, and they've got probably less than a couple of years to do that. So we're trying to provide a service in the short term now, working with radio stations to provide a service to drive interest and attention and engagement to their own platform rather than YouTube or to Facebook.
I got to tell you, that is not the customer I thought you'd be going for. Radio stations
for video content.
Well, you know what?
Because but it makes so much sense.
It makes a lot of sense, and right now for us in terms of scale, our big scalability issue is editorial. It's the human component of what we're trying to do. We could, the algorithm stuff. Computers do things faster and faster. It doesn't matter how many people or files are involved. We have a finite amount of human brain power that we can put into this. So building this library, those videos actually are the videos that we're using to build out the library, because they make sense. They're the things that are a lot in the comfort zone of a lot of people, and so using them kind of as a Trojan horse to get people out of their comfort zone is exactly what we're going to be doing.
Sure.
But we need a huge library of video that is tagged well for our system to find to do that.
Sure.
And radio stations, it lines right up with what they're already sharing on Facebook and asking their audience to go check out. What we're doing is saying, put it on your own site so that you're not sending people away, but you're bringing them in, and you're creating a reason for them to keep coming back to your site, so that down the road they may click that big fat button you have on your homepage saying listen live here.
Listen to it. Yes, absolutely.
And you won't lose them when they go into the car that's Wi-Fi enabled.
Of course. I want to talk a lot more. I think it's very intriguing what you guys are doing, and we also want to get into a little bit more of your backgrounds and the history of how this started. But before we do that, we were talking about advertising earlier, and this is where you're going to get your dose of advertising on our podcast. We are sponsored by Igloo Software, so we're just going to throw a quick, I wouldn't call it a commercial, but a little spot here for you about what it's like to work at Igloo. If you have some tech skills and you're interested, or you're checking out the possibilities of where you might want to find some good employment, take a listen to this and see if Igloo is the kind of place you might want to be at.
Yeah, they're a local tech company with some really cool people.
Absolutely.
I actually left Igloo for a while and came back because you get the sense of family, the sense of working as a team.
It's a really inspiring place to work. People can be who they are when they're in the building, and we're all working together for a common goal.
It gets a little crazy at times.
I have a very, very large collection of rubber ducks. My first day, out of nowhere, I just got shot by so many Nerf guns. I mean, we get beer every other Friday. There's nothing wrong with that.
You could be here for a few weeks, but if you have a great idea and we think it'll work, we'll run with it.
Where you can go forward and pursue your own dreams.
They're empowered to do their job. Our culture is all about team.
It's really great, and it's something that you kind of strive for in a company.
If you have a great idea, we're going to implement it. That's why people love working here.
Igloo! Did you get that?
So I love Igloo. They were very kind to us when we stopped by their spot. I think they're moving offices. They're always growing.
Yeah,
so if you're a talented, smart individual looking for employment, go check them out.
We've got to go back there again, because last time we were there, they had an entire lunchroom full of donuts and pastries and stuff.
Yeah, and it was the Viking iteration.
Yeah.
So we had some of the Viking coffee, and I'm looking forward to maybe, Barbarian iteration.
I'm going to call up and find out when Donut Day is next, because I think that would be a good day to go back.
Day.
But,
dun, dun, dun.
Anyway,
I like that.
let's bring things back here. So we are, in case you've forgotten, we're talking with Tessa and Katie, both from Vubble, and we've heard a bunch about the vision of Vubble and Vubble. I've got to make sure to say this right. The vision
North
of
Star.
Vubble, yes, the North Star, so to speak, and how it works, what you guys are hoping to accomplish with it, and a bit about the monetization. So you didn't explicitly say it, but I'm assuming the radio stations are paying you for you to provide this curated content. That's how it's happening.
Yeah. So we've done one test with one radio station right now, and now we're talking to potential clients. So.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
So things are moving forward. There might actually be some money involved.
Maybe, you know what?
Yeah.
The conversation I had yesterday with one of the major radio networks was that has multiple radio stations under it. Said, you are scratching an itch that we have. We have this itch, and you are scratching it. So let's talk more. So that's very.
That's
very
nice
positive.
Words.
Yeah,
it's nice.
That's like the best thing you can hear from a potential customer.
Exactly.
So that's awesome.
Yeah, you've identified a problem, so if you can bring the right scratcher,
yes,
you'll be all set, right?
Yes, bring the right scratcher. That should
weird.
be the tagline. The tagline for
we
the
have
whole
the right
startup.
scratcher.
Yes, that's right.
That is the new slogan.
Now,
Great tagline.
what we didn't actually ask you. What are your roles? I know it's early, and it's the two of you are kind of the whole face of Vubble right now. But how do you kind of divide up the responsibilities?
Yeah, who's the algorithm and who's the human?
So we actually have three. We have a technology lead as well. He's in Toronto. I'm in Toronto as well. Like technically our titles, I'm the CEO, but really we do everything. Everybody's doing everything. Though Gary's focused on the technology side. I can't do his job, and he does not want to try to do ours either. So Katie and I are very much focused on editorial. Katie's taking a lead on a lot of she's been doing a lot of lawyer conversations lately around terms and conditions and privacy policies.
What's that been like, Katie?
It's painful.
Uh-huh.
It's fine. It's an important part of starting a business, right?
Sure.
And we want to lay a great foundation, so it's just something that we're doing.
Yep.
And it's great. Yeah.
It has to be done.
It has to be done.
We're
just working our way through it, and appreciating the work that people are doing for us. So
absolutely,
yeah, it's great.
That's the part of any startup that I hate is the legal stuff and all of the just regulations when you're applying for. I don't know if you guys have looked into applying for grants or any of that kind of stuff too. It's so many hoops to jump through.
Yeah,
I feel like
hoops,
can't somebody just there's another itch I need scratched, right? I need to get
Somewhere
an
out there,
organization
there's a
that
scratcher.
manages all that. Yes, that's right. So is your day-to-day a lot of, I mean, aside from taking care of the paperwork and stuff, is it a lot of just watching videos and
Yes.
adding
Yes, it is.
tags? And,
Yeah.
It's watching a lot of. I would say I watch probably about at least 10 hours of video a day. At
Wow.
least. And
There's only 24 hours in a day.
I know. Well, I know. When I have kids too, my son's always like, "Why do you get to watch TV all the time?" Well, some of it sucks.
And would you say, like, what's the kind of quality versus not so high quality ratio as you're digging through all that content?
Oh, you know what? I don't know. Every
10 to 1. It's hard to say.
Yeah, it depends on the day
get,
too, and the story. Like what's in the
That's
zeitgeist
right.
kind of defines because basically, yeah, like our algorithm will tell us these are the things that people are talking about, and here are some examples of some video that we found, but it's based on like the tagging that's happened already. So some of them are totally off the mark, and some of them are just like, it's not that great. But then it leads us down a rabbit hole, and then we go off into
that's right.
Wherever. Okay, well that's a really interesting idea. Is there a better way of, or is there a better video out there that explains that? And can I get 2 or 3 videos that explain it from different points of view? Is our ideal. That's a good day when we can do that. Some days it's just, it's an awful lot of the viral stuff, and it's the frothier stuff, which is also fun sometimes.
And you come across really great sources.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So then you kind of go back to them on a fairly regular basis, see what's new, what else they have, what they like, what they're following. Like it's
like the early days of network television, I feel like. It's like, we're just looking for great talent and great storytellers.
Yeah.
And, what's beautiful is that, we aren't encumbered by all of the lawyerly stuff around having to, license things and stuff. It is about, like, this is in the moment, this is relevant, here's what it is, and go check it out.
Wow. Now, speaking of the early days of network television, I know a little bit about you guys as far as
that was your question earlier, was asking us what our backgrounds were, and we totally dodged it. It's not because we're spies and evil.
It's all
just
good.
we got excited about something
else.
else.
And part of my job is to bring it back, so that's what I'm doing. So I know both of you were involved in the CBC in some capacity. Maybe if you can just tell us a little bit about where you're coming from and how that's helped to prepare you for this startup that you're engaging in now.
So I was at CBC most recently. I resigned last August in 2014. I was the director of digital there, and I was at CBC for 20 years. So I started in radio right out of school.
You don't look old enough to have been there for 20 years.
I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
These kind of comments work great on audio podcasts.
Tessa was always a young rising star there. Right?
Wow.
For 20 years.
I played that a lot. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't. But no, it's a fantastic organization. It was a wonderful place to work and a wonderful place to work with so many talented people. Like I really did cut my teeth there and learn a lot around the editorial stuff and a lot around, management and talent seeking and all of those things that I'm using now.
You didn't start out as the head of digital.
No.
Where were you when you came?
Actually started in radio because my background, like my first love was radio. My dad was a country music DJ in a small market station out in Peterborough, right? And I used to go every weekend. I'd sit on his lap and I didn't love country music, but whatever. I just wanted to go for the experience. Right?
That was my
loved
next
it.
question.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it now? Country
You know what? I did love Johnny Cash. That was the one but a lot of the rest of it, I was like, ugh.
What was Shania Twain, New Country?
No, they didn't. No? They went into New Country after he'd left. So he was just at the very end of
good
like the
classics.
Good old classic country.
I know for me,
heart.
It was back in the mid '90s, which would have been 20 years ago now for me. I guess for all of us, 20 years ago was the mid '90s. I was hanging out with a girl a lot who listened to like lots of New Country, so I knew nothing about any of that until we were spending time together, and I heard Shania Twain and Leanne Rimes and I don't know, Garth Brooks and all those people.
Taylor Swift
then.
girl?
Yeah, well, these days, Taylor Swift there's Taylor Swift and then there's every other musician, I think, on the radio pretty much. But anyway, yes.
She's on more lunchboxes than a mermaid, I think.
I wonder, yes. Yeah. So, okay.
So I loved radio.
Got into radio,
Love it. And my first job at CBC, we actually still were cutting tape, like actually physically cutting tape with razor blades and stuff. And that was my first couple of years working in the radio newsroom there at CBC.
That was like editing the footage that came in kind of stuff? Or?
Yeah, audio.
Okay.
And
you were a producer.
Yeah, producer for the first couple of years. And then the Canadian Film Centre had this program that they were launching called New Media Design. Everybody called it New Media then. Nobody even called it the internet because it was like before, I'm really aging myself, it was before the
before they
internet
had
was
the
really
name, yeah.
was really starting to become the the way that people were going. And so they had launched this program, and I was like, this is fantastic. Because I struggled a lot, in particular in the newsroom around, and I worked in the arts division. So I would go and interview somebody at length about their play that they'd just launched.
Yeah.
For they were working on it for the last 7 years, and I would give them 7 seconds to talk about it. It drove me crazy, and I was like, "Why am I the one that's deciding what's important here?" I get it because there's only so much time. The shelf life in broadcast is finite, right?
Yeah.
But it really bothered me. So I was like, as soon as I was asked to go cover this new school opening, I was like, all objectivity out the window. I was like, I'm going to go to this school because I think that this will help fix the problem that I have with this the sort of control that the journalist had in that scenario, or I had in that scenario. And so went and did that, and then CBC called me back to do a arts online magazine. So then I started that up when I'd never built a website,
Yeah.
But they did. They were like, this is a new thing, and why don't we see if we can bring people around that kind of get it? And they really did throw caution to the wind and give a whole bunch of really young people a lot of access to do some really innovative things back then.
And this is, we're talking like
late 90s.
Okay.
And that's where I met Katie, actually.
Yeah.
That would have been like 97, 98, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then
She was one of those young people with a lot of leash.
yeah, actually.
Yeah, I was actually. Yeah. I came in.
Yeah.
And then I moved into the investigative space for a little bit, working with shows like Fifth Estate and a show we had called Disclosure, just trying to really figure out how do you, because investigative journalism is incredibly rich with the ability of the audience to tear back, the layers of a story and be, the audience has a lot of agency if you give it to them,
Sure.
So I was trying to really be not playful, but give the audience access to as much as we possibly could, so that they wouldn't just make up their minds from the interview that they saw during the show, but they could go and read the whole transcript and see which questions we asked and which ones we didn't.
Sure.
To me, that was all about reimagining how the audience is responsible for their own experience and giving them some more responsibility in it.
And in the age of the internet, I would see something like that and think, I want to learn more. I'll go Google that or read the Wikipedia.
And this is before
entry
Google
or
was really
something,
taking
right?
off, right? So we were really trying to make it easy. Because for me, it's always been the easier that somebody can actually access something, the more likely they're going to do it, right? You make it hard, it's not going to happen, right? So,
And you're putting some transparency in there too by saying, I only had 7 seconds, so this is what you see, but here's the context of all the questions I asked and where I was coming from, right? So,
And that was a big change at that time for the
it was,
CBC. And
had
there
a lot
were
of
probably a
lawyers
few
coming in and
battles
say,
that you had to
"Stop
fight, right, in order to get that kind of
you're kind
transparency.
of pulling the curtain back.
Yeah.
But now there
was some
normal.
resistance to that.
Yeah. Now it's totally normal.
Yeah, now
It's
we're selfish and we want all that extra stuff, right?
And the expectation is that, if a media organization doesn't do that, then it's like, well, they're hiding something.
That's
and I think that's what's created with the next generation of audience, actually, is very skeptical of big media because of that very thing, where it's a guy sitting behind a desk telling me what's important in the news doesn't really resonate. And so
So they're not buying fair and balanced as the tagline.
I guess
They say it to you, you don't think...
Is that a Fox News dig there?
It was. I was being a little more subtle than that, but I guess not.
So it was sort of subtle. But so that's my background. I've always been passionate about audience experience, not journalism with the certainly not the white pillar tower or whatever.
Sure.
But how important it is to have an informed society. Not just informed. Now I'm starting to say it's not. People don't need more information. We've never had more information than we do right now.
Yeah.
We don't even really need knowledge about it. That's where we're going with the getting outside your sweet spot or your comfort zone is that knowledge piece. We're trying to help build that, but ultimately we want to get to is wisdom, right? We want to be able to get to the point where
people
we're
are
not just
getting
being washed
smarter.
over with crap, but we're just actually becoming integrally more smart by the way that we live in the world. And wouldn't that be fantastic if it's not so much hard work to do that?
No, absolutely. And now I want to hear a little bit about Katie as well. And I think when we met each other, which is probably a year and a bit ago now, one of the first things I remember learning about you is that you used to do production on the Dragon's Den, because that's the one show that kind of everybody knows about, and that's what stuck. But maybe you can let us know too a little bit about where you came from and how you ended up here.
Sure. Yeah. Tessa and I did meet at the CBC. I had a bit of a different route through the broadcaster. I Started in what was new media at that time and moved into television. And I worked for a long time on a show called CBC News Sunday, which has been, it's no longer around, but it was an excellent show and really strong on visual storytelling. And so I did a number of documentaries for them, and I feel like I really got a sense of what is a great visual story, which is really helpful now with Vubble and curating content.
Right.
And then, then Dragon's Den launched, and the CBC sort of moved more to doing factual entertainment. And
is that a fancy name for reality
Well, that's
TV?
what it was called. It's not called that anymore. I don't know. Is it still?
It's still called factual entertainment.
Yeah, they moved in.
And they did. And I did work in that department for a bit, and I did definitely work with them a lot. Last little bit. It is about trying to be a little bit more on the knowledge learning sort of reality side, not so much the spectacle, but.
Yeah. Is there like a whole department called semantics there?
No, everybody participates in that.
Company-wide, I like it.
You have to have that skill set to be hired at that.
So the first season of Dragon's Den was a real eye-opener into how reality TV is made, and it was not really for me, although Dragon's Den was a really interesting experience. And
it's still on,
it's still on, and it's going strong and stronger and stronger. Like that first season, the critical reviews were terrible.
Oh, were they? I have no idea.
I think the Globe said something like, I don't mean to speak negatively about it, but that they felt sorry for the people who worked on that show. So I thought that was hilarious at that time. But I did move after that. I felt like I didn't really want to be in the entertainment space at all, and I moved into radio and started working at As It Happens.
Okay.
As a producer there, and it just was the best fit for me. Radio is an amazing medium, and so anyway, that was a real highlight when working there. And then we moved to Waterloo. I moved to Waterloo, and I started a new job at a company called Baby Center, which is based in San Francisco.
Right.
And it's a great, innovative media company, but I'm in the satellite office.
Right, sure.
And I would like to bring a lot of the great practice that I've learned there to a Canadian media company.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is what we have now.
And there you have it.
Vubble, so what do you feel like your individual backgrounds, what kind of like skills and secret sauce are you bringing to this project, to this startup that is going to set it apart from anybody else who might want to be trying something?
Are you talking about their unfair advantage?
Yes, their unfair advantage. That's the word that we like to use.
I just listened to the semantics department real quick.
No, it's perfect.
Holding that sign up.
Stephen is our semantics department for the podcast, so it's great. Yeah.
I'm gonna do it for Katie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do it for me.
Okay. And then I'll do a universal one.
Yeah. Sure.
So I would say for Katie, I think it's that she has such a sensitivity to story and not sensitivity and things do make you cry.
I spend most of the day crying over news stories. I am like that stereotype. Yes.
But she really does want to figure out what is the best way for this to get into the world. And when she finds one that's a beautiful piece, then it's about, okay, now I've got to get this really as far as it possibly can, and more people need to see this thing. So I love that about you and your curation skills, and I think that's a huge advantage because not that many people care. Unfortunately, right now, especially in media companies, and I'm not identifying any ones in particular, but there is because the fight for eyeballs is the only thing that matters. It's really about going into a major newsroom now, you just see Chartbeat. And I like Chartbeat. It's great to know what your audience is consuming, what they're interested in, but that's not the defining, that's not what should define the experience for the audience in the end, because ultimately we live in a democracy and media has a responsibility to actually not just be, driving more clicks and driving more attention to the latest whatever list,
Yeah, it'd make it pretty cynical and jaded if it was all about just what's the latest car accident that everybody wants to look at.
And so,
Britney Spears getting her hair cut off.
Right. Yeah. But there might be something in that, and maybe that's more of a story about mental health. And so that's where Katie comes, Katie's able to take stories like that and figure out what is the thing that is actually the thing that matters in this. Why are we talking about that? And then figuring out how to find a video that tells that story. Unfortunately, right now there's not as much videos we'd like that tells those stories, but that'll happen too.
You're building the library, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Katie, what would you say about Tessa?
I would say that Tessa is a future reader. that she knows the future, actually. Yeah.
She's not someone who's going to take up reading.
No, she's able to speak and see earlier than anybody else I've ever met where things are going in the media space. And she's able to articulate it and explain it to people. And I've seen it repeatedly for the past 15 years. And I believe that she's seeing it now. And that she will be one of the first to pick up where things are heading. And it's just a very exciting skill to have in your business, right? As we're basically building a lab and trying to see where things are going. And I think Tessa brings the ability to see that, communicate about it.
Anybody who can see into the future has good things.
You know what I mean? I mean, she can see things early, and she can see them at a high level that, like kind of the global level. And I feel like there's not really nobody else in Canada or, one of a few in North America who can do it.
Yeah, being able to identify those early adopters and that sort of futurist trends are awesome. And that would make a great business card.
Much better than if you have an itch, I'll scratch it. Much better.
We'll get you one by the end of the podcast.
Awesome. And for the whole organization, I would say that I really, it sounds corny, but all of us have some sort of relationship with CBC. We all come from public media. So that is at like this core of our ethos.
Right.
It is, we are driven by the desire to help people make sense of the world around them, not about, and yes, of course we want to make money, of course we want to build as Katie said, a very grounded business right now that will grow hugely, because this is just the start. We're figuring out video curation, like when we can figure those things out, that can be applied in many different ways across many different types of content, and so I would say that we're driven by that. Is and that North Star piece it came out of that. That's the thing that I think is our unfair advantage. And some people might say, well, that's good for you because that's just a nice idea. But I actually think that companies that are grounded in a not just nice idea, but an awesome idea of trying to do something good are going to be the ones that really do well.
Absolutely.
So what's the future look like for you then? Futurist.
I can't see the future.
What am I going to have for lunch today?
Oh my gosh, what do they have there?
So what's the plan? Like, what's the runway for you guys? Are you trying to hire? Are you trying to get some funding now? Or are you trying to acquire?
Or maybe just...
Sure.
Am I too early on that question?
No. I just wanted to, because we didn't say anything about kind of where it started, and We've talked a lot so far, but I feel like it would be terrible if we didn't at least spend a minute or two kind of getting into like the journey you guys have taken, because you didn't just start this a week or two ago. This has been running for a little while now, and I think a lot of early entrepreneurs want to kind of hear about those experiences and see like, how do I get this thing going? So what you had the idea? Where did you go once you had the idea? So
for the first few months, it was really just us doing we didn't realize we were doing this, but we were doing a textbook lean startup, right? Because it was like go and research and go talk to people that we know and admire and respect, and so that we spend an awful lot of time here talking to people leading in the industry, particularly on the algorithm piece. And just doing a lot of conversations and research. And then we were like, okay, we actually have to build something. So we launched a very rudimentary site. Now you see it's slightly evolved, but it's still very rudimentary.
And when you say you launched, like you guys didn't necessarily sit down and code something from scratch yourselves,
we built it, So,
okay. Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not the most beautiful thing ever in the history, but it was meant to be like just a very, let's just see what happens when, can we figure, in particular for us, like how much volume can we get through in a day of video?
And it was funny, we were doing it privately, just between the two of us, for about a month, and then we had an outside guy give us great advice, and he just said, just make it public. Just put it out there in the world and see how people respond.
It's like you have a baby and you're like, I'm going to keep it in the house. But then we realized, thankfully, that person's great advice was like, the baby needs to go for a walk. And that's been really helpful because it has.
I think she's taking your job with the analogies. It's usually Stephen who pulls out the analogies, but okay, that's good.
Sorry.
No, it's all good.
So we, like I mentioned earlier, we were like, we need to build an app that's going to get people outside their comfort zone. We were very much obsessed with how are we going to build this app? How are we going to get funding to this? And we basically we're very close to getting the funding, and we had a company that we wanted to build the app. And then it's really interesting. One of the companies that we were talking to about building the app, they gave us great advice. They're like, you know what? I don't think you should build this app right now. And I love them for this because that's their service, and they would have made money off of it. So like, you really, and this guy like was like, you really just need to go and like figure out exactly how you're going to make this a business, though, because it's not right now, because you can't. Nobody's going to buy this thing. Right. So how are you going to make this a business that's going to be sustainable? You'll probably get some downloads and like you'll have a decent number of people installing it at the outset, but you know, you don't have advertising. You're not going to be able to charge for it. How are you going to feed it? You know? And so
and also build out some channels so that when you do have an app, you're not just suddenly stuck with the problem of how do people find my app? Right?
I have an app.
Which I imagine is a problem that a lot of people who build an app face, right? Right. So I thought that was great advice too.
So we pushed pause on that, and we were like, then we spent about a month intensively looking at different business models and revenue options, and like talking again to more people about where's the ad industry going with. Like, we learned a lot about programmatic, all those things, trying to figure out what's the place, and then we landed in the space that where we're we realized that what we actually love doing is curating video content, and we can do that not just for this North Star piece, but we can do that as a service as well. And wouldn't it be fantastic to use that service to help inform the North Star piece as well? So it's all kind of symbiotic. We're trying to create I'm going to give another analogy, a factory where we suck every ounce of value out of every step of the process. So that's really, that was very helpful to go through that process. And then we have some angel funding that will get us. The other thing, people keep looking at it, it's like, you're crazy. We want to be hungry all the time. We want to always be in startup mode or founding mode, I guess is a better way of describing it. Sure. Because we want to always be trying to figure out what the next thing is that we have to solve and not get too comfortable. Because a lot of the early conversations we had, and even the conversations we've had in the recent weeks, were with people that almost had too much given to them at the outset, and then weren't hungry, and then kind of ignored all of the signs that were telling them to go this way, but they're like, nope, we're going this way, because
you have the money, and why not?
I don't know if I would say founding mode, because I feel like that's our our perpetual talking to lawyers and having them create terms and conditions and privacy policies. I want to get a few things, like a foundation built that is just on autopilot a little bit. This is the way we do business. We just roll out a contract when we need one, all of that stuff. But that moment after that, we want to build like a well-running lab that we then are experimenting on all the time.
Sure. How do you stay hungry watching 10 hours of video? Like, I guess I would eat during that time. But, like, that seems very counterintuitive to a CEO.
Yeah. Well, down the road, that's the idea too, is that we have other editorial help.
You're going to hire Darren to watch 10 hours of video?
Yes. Well, no, what we want to do is have 10 people watching 1 hour of video each, right? Because that's ultimately what we want to get to, is we don't want it to be, we're not building a bricks and mortar office. We're not going to have people sitting in a room at cubicles watching video. It is about, you are in the world right now. What are the things that are most relevant to you? Did you see a video that might be of interest? And then they throw that at us, and it's like a much more. It's almost, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but like the International Herald Tribune, how they used to operate in the newspaper media side, where they just have people far flung around the world that are trying to interpret what's going on and getting like on the ground.
Well. And I like the idea of getting user participation in the process, because I think there are people out there who are already kind of doing that anyway, right? They're just sitting there Facebook watching feeds. They're watching hours of video every day, and they're sharing this or sharing that or doing whatever with their own network. Why not bring some of those people into your own process and say, if you can tag some of these videos for stuff, and we might even be able to at some point throw something your way for doing the work. But there must be kind of video mavens out there, online video mavens, I guess, who are
absolutely.
That's a neat concept. It's sort of outside in instead of the paper sending people out to go report on stuff. It's saying, everybody tell us what's happening.
Yeah,
right. So that makes a lot of sense, right?
Exactly. And then also when you and that's not to when we have enough clients as well, when we have a network of clients that we're sending feeds out to, those clients can actually suggest video too. And there might be some really interesting things that come out of that mix that will be worth paying attention to for, the public group. So we're really trying to build an ecosystem that, works well together. at the
Absolutely.
outset.
So basically, we need the stalker of Stephen Fry to tell us what he's said
Absolutely.
next.
Absolutely.
Next.
And the one, that the person who not only Stephen Fry, but like all that whole world that Stephen Fry lives in, and theology and the, different, all of that, right? Somebody who's just really tapped into that and knows the best that's going on in there, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
interesting. I like it.
Yeah.
So I think we're coming up on 53 minutes. So if we're going to do our
Lightning / thunder round.
then we're going to have to actually make it like a lightning round where we're answering the stuff quickly.
Swift and bold.
Yeah, for those of us who have been following us for a little while, you might have heard our last podcast. We actually had a sound effect thrown in there. Well, that wasn't it.
That
was
sounded like a
that was our
whirlwind.
normal fake one that we
So
usually
now what we're doing?
Yeah. You want this is
Yeah.
where we're supposed to have the sound effect? What?
The guest has to make the sound effect. Remember?
Oh, right.
right.
Yeah.
Ilya made a sound effect for us.
Yeah, but okay. But I think it doesn't have to be a lightning or thunder sound
No,
effect.
it could be anything. It could be a meow of a kitten.
Yeah. So we are curating sound effects that we're
Okay.
going to use for something in the future. So if any of you do some sort of sound really well, if either of you can throw something at us.
We don't have any fart noises at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
Animal noises, a celebrity impression. Or
I can do a
maybe
loon call.
Can you do
Excellent.
Very Canadian.
There is nothing more Canadian than
Perfect. That's perfect. But we have so the rest of us have to stay silent while she
Yeah,
does
is this
it. So
method acting? Do you need to get in the mind of the loon
it's just
for a
incredibly
second?
loud.
Even better.
Don't worry, it's good. It's good. Yeah.
Get your hand on the board.
All right. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay, I'm
Lay it on us.
several shades of red. Okay, hold on. Oh, I haven't heard it in years. Okay, here I go.
Yeah. I feel
That is very loony.
I feel like I'm at my cottage floating in a boat on the lake. That's great.
When I was a kid, I could do that, and there was actually I kid you, I'm not joking. A family of loons came to the canoe with babies
Wow.
because they thought I was
Sick or something? Dying?
a dying loon is in that
okay?
canoe. We
There's
need
a poor loon crying out in distress.
we need to go help that poor
Kids, you got to come see this loon.
You could have been saying anything in loon language. You don't even know, right? But that's great. I don't know, Katie. It's a hard thing to
How
follow
do you top
up.
that?
I know.
don't know if you
The
have
only
the-
thing that's coming to my mind is not really like I grew up in Alabama. So I was thinking.
Wow.
Of
If this had come up
You
earlier,
get a hot call?
can you do a good hee-haw? Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Let me. Do you have to have two?
Well, we don't have to.
We just
but
don't
I
want to
mean,
exclude
it would-
anybody.
It would help us build the library
Help us with
quicker.
the Canadian loon and the American hee-haw.
Yeah.
The
Give
thing
us a
in
hee-haw.
Alabama, they don't really say hee haw.
Oh, no?
Right? No.
What do they say in
They say
Alabama?
roll tide.
They say what?
How do they
Oh,
say
Oh,
it, Katie?
Alabama Roll Tide.
Yeah.
oh
They
is this-
How do they
say-
say it? You need to say
yeah.
it.
Give,
Oh yeah.
okay.
They say. I can't believe I'm gonna do this. Roll tide.
That's pretty awesome.
That is pretty cool.
I'm sure we'll find something we can incorporate that into at some point in the future.
Oh Lord.
Awesome.
What was that for?
What was
Just for
that
embarrassing purposes.
We have so many side projects we've lost track. But that will come up again at some point. Let's do the lightning round questions and see if we can get through these quickly. So, you want to go first, Steve?
Sure.
Yeah.
To me, if you guys could finish this sentence for me. To me, an entrepreneur is someone who or that. What? What does an entrepreneur mean to you
Doesn't
guys?
sleep.
Doesn't sleep. That's
Yep.
not bad. Katie?
Someone who has to see their idea come out in the world.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Sounds good. My question is, I ask everybody this. Give one piece of advice for new startups in 5 words or less.
Share your idea.
Excellent.
Hang in there.
Excellent.
What's the biggest joy you guys get from doing all this? There's got to be something.
Oh yeah. Like it's just so awesome. It's hard to name one thing, right?
I love
like,
solving my own problems.
Solving your problems. That's good.
Our own problems.
Yeah. Problems with the startup, yeah.
Oh, I love the freedom of creating our own thing. Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh, it's my turn.
Yep.
Who is your ideal investor? It doesn't have to be a specific person, but like what type of person?
A paying customer.
Okay, that's actually a really good answer.
I like that.
Yeah, that's good.
And maybe be after a paying customer, which I totally agree. I would say someone who loves the values of public broadcasting.
Okay, excellent.
Awesome.
Stephen?
So I am paying for 3 top-notch employees for you guys to hire. Who are you looking for? Is there anybody specifically, or is there like do you need developers, marketers, salesmen? Who do you want to hire? It's on me.
In the near future for us, it's editorial. We need editorial help sooner because the faster we can build this library with the richest books in it or videos in it, the better.
So by editorial, I mean people to watch the videos and to tag them appropriately and everything else,
You know, from all walks of life.
Right.
Which we can do pretty easily, I think.
Yeah.
It's really hard because I feel like I know 3 people that I would love to hire, and I don't know exactly what they would do, but they are just amazing people who just totally understand what we're trying to do. One is a sales guy, one is another editor, and another one is just a guy who gives great advice.
Okay.
Who's very talented and
understands the mobile
startup.
space and knows the mobile space really well.
Yeah, so I feel like if I had the money, I would hire them right away.
That's interesting because I've asked that several times, and that's the first time that I've actually had the response of somebody who knows the people that they want.
Yeah,
usually it's very
people.
generic, like I need a marketer or I need a business person.
Right.
But nobody's ever said I know the people. And
I'm going to go
awesome.
really quickly, just do a tangent into like, that is an unfair advantage of us.
Right.
It's like we actually
Plugged
are
in.
20 years in, so we have networks of people that we know and
we have people checking in with us saying, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
That are
really, that are
might
like
wanna
top of
get
their
involved.
game.
Yeah.
top of their game.
So they're there to support you and keep that network going.
And I would love to just say, join us.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
My question is, what is one startup skill you need to get better at?
Sleeping.
Okay. Yeah.
I would like, I don't know if I would like to, but I need to know more about accounting.
I hate the accounting stuff too, incidentally. I was at an accounting workshop last night, and I tuned out about 20 minutes into it, and I'm like, I need to pay attention. I need to pay attention.
Yeah. I mean, we have an accountant, and it just...
We want to be able to have informed conversations.
Yeah, we do. I don't want to feel so blind about it, but that's one thing.
Yeah.
Do we have any money?
Oh, yeah.
My next question, what's one piece of advice you'd give to a young female entrepreneur just starting up? She's got an idea, she's got an itch, or she's got a passion about solving a problem. So give her some advice.
Just give me a minute.
I would say do whatever it is. Like, do the smallest version of the thing that you want to get out into the world, and then bring people around you that believe in that you want to work with.
Which is good advice for anybody, female or male. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who wants to do
And I actually, like, I would say, like, ignore all of the, I'll just swear and say bullshit that comes with all that stuff. Like, I actually, I don't know. I know that there's the perception that women have fewer opportunities, and that the whole startup world is very male oriented. If you're so passionate about the thing that you want to do, all that stuff goes away.
Right.
So just focus on the thing you want to do and do it.
Yeah, and in this particular area, like in Kitchener-Waterloo, there seems to be a lot of women who are doing very well in the startup world anyway. Like, it doesn't seem to be a hindrance.
Yeah.
It might be different in Silicon Valley or other places, I don't know. But anyway, yes.
And were you saying young? Sorry, what was it?
Yeah. Somebody
Young
starting
women,
out.
Somebody just starting out, because they can start out at any age.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. Let me think. Hold on. Sorry, I had like a thought and then I kind of dropped out.
It's okay.
Has to be curated back to the top.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Give me a minute.
If it comes back to you, you can let us know. We'll maybe just quickly move on. I think was that 9 questions so far?
I think that was my 4th.
That was your 4th?
Yep.
Okay, so let me just throw up a follow-up to my last one, which was, what is one startup skill that you feel you've really mastered already by this point? You don't have to feel like you can't brag or something. Obviously, you've gotten better at some things over these months that you've been working, right?
Right.
I think that I have mastered, and partly this is just being the age that I am and having worked at a company that's based somewhere else, but I've mastered the working alone, working at home, checking in with people.
Yeah, which is hard for some people who are used to constantly working in
Yeah,
the office or
I'm
being
used to
around
like a
people.
structureless
Yes.
work environment,
Right.
and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
So sort of on that line too, I'd say that multitasking. And I don't know whether or not that's because like parenting and like being a mom and doing like 100 other things have already done that, and then also the work experience in the past. But multitasking has been
You've done well at it. Excellent.
Yeah.
easy peasy.
Excellent.
Okay, so I thought of the thing.
Oh,
Are you
yes.
going to cut it back in, or is
We'll
this
probably
gonna
just
be-
let it run
Yeah, go ahead.
because
Oh, shoot.
we're all just friends.
But you
talking
could take
here.
out that one little piece. Where I'm like, I don't have an answer.
Yeah, of course.
Well,
we'll edit
I
that,
was
yeah.
thinking, don't for young women starting out, I wouldn't worry at all about the whole kids question, the whole like how to balance, like all of that stuff. I would just, if you have an idea for a company, just go ahead and do it.
Right.
And the kids question and all of that drama will work itself out.
Right.
No matter what you're doing. And then also, I think if you find an environment unfriendly, I would get the hell out of there.
Right.
If you find it unfriendly to women, like if if there's a group and you don't feel like it's like, just go find there are many places that would support you, and I would find it.
And once
and
again,
don't
yeah.
just don't waste your time
Yeah.
with places that would not support you.
And I think once again, good advice for kind of anyone. If you're in an environment that's pulling you
Yeah.
down emotionally, get
Yeah.
out of there and find somewhere else to be.
Yeah.
And and I think all of us have kids right in this room too, and
Yep.
we're all involved in startup ventures, and
Yeah.
we're finding ways to make it work. So
Yeah.
don't be afraid.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
excellent.
Nice. So here's my last question for you. This is a hardware question because when you talk about watching video for 10 hours, I envision your setup. So I think you have a cool chair, maybe 3 or 4 monitors, sort of like a Captain Picard in the Star Trek.
That's the
Is that what's
future.
happening, or can
Yeah.
you
That's-
describe to me your monitors or your?
I have a laptop that has been to the doctor several times over the last 6 months. No, I actually just wander around in my
So what's the
neighborhood,
dream
my
theater
house.
then? Would you do a 3-monitor setup for?
I think everybody will be like doing it the way that they want to do it, right? Like that's how I've always, I love having a laptop just wandering around my house doing it in different spots and
So you're real mobile then.
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
and backyard, whatever, or going to the coffee shop around the corner, right? So,
Awesome.
but other people will want that, and that's fine.
It's just me and a laptop,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're the same.
Wow.
Yeah. and I'm running the poor laptop into the ground.
So you guys are like watching video and living life and doing things and stuff like
Oh, yeah.
driving and
Yeah.
yeah. That's awesome.
My last
driving.
question is, what's the one kind of viral video that you find yourself going back to and rewatching?
Which one? You know what? I hardly ever rewatch things just because
There's so much to watch.
as soon as I start to rewatch, I'm like, I don't have time to watch it.
Got to move forward.
Or the thing that you say to your spouse,
You've gotta watch this?
Yeah, you got to see this thing. Like,
I think
this
that's
is
the
nuts.
barometer that we both use every day.
Yeah,
Like, that's,
it is, yeah.
It doesn't get through unless we want to share it with somebody.
So
that
is
we
there
know.
something that sticks out in your mind? Just something that maybe the listeners can go and find? When
You have to see Stephen Fry answer the God question. Dan.
Yeah, that's a good
that
one.
was
That's a
good.
good one.
Stephen Fry
Yeah.
answering the God question.
He
is a
does
great
not
one.
quibble
It's a great one. And
about
it-
his opinion.
Okay.
Yeah,
He's
Yeah.
fairly straightforward.
I'm a sucker for, and you'll see because they're often in there, but like a lot of the science explanation videos and stuff, the things that take like complicated ideas and explain and I love the Canadian YouTubers that are doing that, the ASAP Science guys and the other Canadian YouTubers that are doing fantastic work. Like I think we've, as
Yeah.
Canadians, are able to tell stories in ways that, and look back at our history too. We've been great storytellers in the past, and I think again we're getting into a new golden age of that, and Canadians do hit above their weight level in terms of having success in YouTube, which is great.
That's awesome. Yeah.
There is one video that I did watch over and over and over again, and what's it called? Shortcuts Field Day. Shortcuts
Right,
Field
right,
Day.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a company that's making great
Cut media.
Yeah, great short videos. What's it called?
Cut media.
Cut
video?
Media. That's
Yeah.
right. Cut Media. And
Right.
they took
In
a
New York?
couple who were about to get married, and brought in makeup artists and had the makeup
Oh, yeah.
artists age them by a decade
Oh,
and film
right.
their response, and it is really beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty
Wow.
touching.
Yeah, it's very touching.
I think
yeah.
I think I saw that on my Facebook feed for Vubble. Actually,
You should have
That
clicked
video-
on it, then you
I
would have gotten more.
I didn't click on it yet, but I think I saw it come through.
Yeah, it's really nice.
I really
That's
like
very
how
cool.
every time she ages, he says, "You're so beautiful." Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
at every stage,
Yeah.
he's just
Wow.
knocked out by how
Yeah,
sweet she is.
it's a really strong piece. That's
Yeah.
that's a very interesting group to watch, actually.
I'll have to check it out now.
Yeah, that's
How
60,
that?
she's like, "What are you doing with your hair there, buddy?" Something like that. It's so cute.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's funny.
Who did the slide video? Is that the one where you guys have that one?
That's a guy that is in Texas.
I just
Holy
watched that
moly.
today.
Yeah,
actually. literally right before I left to come to record the podcast.
Yeah,
That's
that
a
was
young.
really
It's a young filmmaker
Good production value,
who
I
just
Yeah.
and apparently one of the drones he had hit one of the women in the face.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Oh dear, that's not good. He's got to release the blooper reel.
Yeah,
after
exactly,
this.
exactly. But it is
Wow.
really beautifully shot and really well done. But everybody there is attractive. I was like, what kind
Yeah.
of swimming
He
place
probably
is
only
this?
put in the attractive people in the footage, right?
Yeah, he
But-
found
That's
a lot
reality TV.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's right.
that is, yeah.
That's right. The bonus question that we like to throw to our guests: toilet paper, scrunch or fold?
You should ask, like, how do you put it on the roll? 'Cause I'm one of those
We
people
should,
that
Yeah,
does
but
that.
that's not what
quite
we're
personal.
asking. Scrunch or fold? We have to know.
I guess I'm fold.
Fold?
I think I'm scrunch. And I also put it in underneath. Like, you have to pull it from underneath. It never made
Really?
sense to me to go over the top with the toilet paper.
I used to be an underneather. Now I'm nothing but over the top.
Huh.
Really? I don't know. I just.
And
We were talking about how you put the
couldn't
toilet
care
paper
less.
on the roll. That's what
Oh,
we're
yeah.
talking about,
You know-
just to be clear.
No, it's all good. We want to make you feel slightly uncomfortable at the end of the podcast. Yeah, it's all good.
We are all about making people feel uncomfortable.
Yes,
Only
This
slightly.
This is
This
the
is outside
question
your
that
comfort
takes
zone.
you out of your comfort zone. Exactly. Exactly. This is our bubble, add piece here.
And after doing it for 52 times, it still takes me outside of my comfort zone when you ask the guest.
This feels like one of those
How they
weird
wipe their
HR
ass.
questions, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true. When I'm interviewing my first employees for my startup, I'm going to throw that question in there
Yeah.
somewhere.
You're going to have all folders.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Where can we kind of find you online? There's
So
Vubble.com,
which is going to
yep.
change in the next couple of weeks. We're going to be pushing hard on the subscription side for brands and media organizations to subscribe to our feed, but we will still have a public facing best of the day video reel
Okay.
that you can come to, and you can subscribe to our newsletter, which you will get in your inbox every day. You'll get like the best things that are worth watching, and then
Okay.
down the road when we launch the app, obviously you're going to want to install that.
Yeah. We can
You can
find you
also
on,
like us on
yeah?
Facebook.
Yes, like us on
Facebook?
Facebook
Okay.
And
and
Twitter.
Twitter.
Okay. And is it just Vubble at Vubble? on
Vubble
Twitter?
Pop on Twitter,
Vubble Pop.
at Vubble Pop, and Vubble Pop on Facebook.
Okay. Excellent. We'll put some links to those locations when we post
All
the
right.
podcast so people can find you guys.
Great.
Awesome. Well,
Thank you
let's,
so much. It's been fun.
Yeah, our pleasure. Thank you guys for coming on and talking about your stuff. I feel like we could talk for another hour just about all of the new media and where things are going and what you guys are doing, but there's a limited amount of time that people will actually listen to Stephen and I's voice, so
That's for sure.
we should probably wrap it up. So let's throw out some thank yous here. First of all, yes, once again, thank you to our guests, Tessa and Katie, for coming on and talking to us about Vubble. Thank you to Communitech for allowing us to use their wonderful recording space here. I'm always grateful that we're able to sneak in and write our names on the door so people don't come in and interrupt us.
Thank you to Igloo for your support and ongoing support of our local podcast.
Absolutely. And to our future sponsor, who we can't say yet, but we
Dun,
do
dun,
have
dun.
somebody else who's coming up. There's a little foreshadowing for you. And thank you to you, our listeners, for joining us on another podcast of TSP Weekly. Please feel free to send us your comments, your questions, your criticisms, your feedback. Our email address is feedback@tspweekly.com, or you can send us a message on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @TSPWeekly. So, from myself, Darren Conley, my co-host, Stephen Campbell, and our guest, Teresa
Tessa.
Oh,
It's Tessa.
Teresa. How did I say Teresa?
You did so well. You did so well.
I'm so used to just reading through the end of the podcast thing, and man,
It's
okay.
If you're editing that, you
Yes.
got to edit my pause.
I don't edit it at all. My mistakes stay in.
Keeps us humble.
Asset backwards.
That's right. All right. Tessa Sproule.
That's
like
right.
the troll. Tessa Sproule and Katie MacGuire. Katie, you have such an easy name to say.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you all next week.